Welcome to the Sweet and Sassy podcast, Sweet and Sassy Show podcast. Jen Carpenter and Molly Lowe. Go ahead with a little intro today, Molly.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So excited you are here and tuning in. Molly Lowe, a LinkedIn business coach, top 1% social seller on LinkedIn, which just means I'm really good at selling on LinkedIn. And if you need to learn how, I'm your girl. I just live for when we are hopping on these calls and talking about the topics. So super excited to get us started today.
Yes, me as well. Jen Carpenter, Secure and Savvy Solutions, Business Services, Mindflow Mastery Coaching, and what I call the ease experience, making everything more exciting, aligned, simple, and easy, personal and business, consistency, community, support, and what is the other C usually? I don't know. Community, consistency, and accountability and support for each other, personal and business, all in one place. All right, I am excited about this topic. We're going to call this episode number 33, coming out in the month of August. The impact of who or what you allow in your circle and how it influences you. So we were just talking a little bit. All right, number one, we showed up in very similar dresses today. Talk about alignment in the universe. These things happen occasionally with Molly and I, which last year happened when we went to the zoo and showed up in the same dress of different colors. I know we talked about it in our last episode as well. But yeah, summer is moving along quickly. We have kids at home. I guess just reminding us too, like I wanted to come back to our roots of where we kind of started when we first met each other and kind of the purpose of our mission and our podcast here together is that we both come from the corporate world, Molly in HR, me in physical therapy, and just like talking about really like I was saying, traumatic experiences in your life don't have to just be childhood trauma or adulthood trauma, traumatic experiences. They're like toxicity in the workplace if you come from that corporate world. And to be honest, too, I talk quite often about I'm 2.5 years out of corporate, and these things from all those years of the toxicity in the workplace still affect us on a day-to-day basis. You know, it gets easier and easier to manage it and navigate it as those things come in because we have the tools and the experience and the knowledge to be able to do that. But I just like to reiterate quite often that it doesn't go away. It still exists. Those things come up that kind of pull you back into your, I say, slippage to back to who you were before and into those old ways. But we can shift out of it and manage it because we have the tools now to do so from our new experiences, the new experiences we've created. Um, Molly was talking about people, she said about different coaches, and people are talking about how people are just complaining about things and whatever that is. Who's in your circle matters. And I guess I'll start with this. When I first was elevating my entrepreneurial experience, that's what I was told by my business coach is stop hanging out with your loser friends, stop hanging out with these people. Like consciously, choosing to shift who you spend your time and energy with. And no, again, I haven't completely walked away from all of those lifetime friendships, but I don't really talk to my old friends as much. I don't see them as much, but they are still my best friends in the world. To be honest, they're not like negative people or anything like that. They're just not on the same page as me with the entrepreneurial mindset. Again, they don't ask me a lot about my business. So like they'll ask occasionally, but even still, and it's not why I don't hang out with them. I'm not saying that either. It's just over time, it kind of naturally shifted itself as well. But again, I still spend time with them, birthdays, one special trip a year. It's just your circle shifts, your circle changes. So that could be friends, that can be family, that could even be people in your business world, a reason, a season, or a lifetime. You might have a coach that's a great coach. You work with them for a year and then you're done with them, and maybe they're still mentoring you a little bit in the future, or maybe they're not in your life anymore at all. You move on to the next level or whatever that is of whatever you serves you next in your life. Just in so many ways that it's so important to be surrounded by the people who maybe you don't have all the same things in common, but the same perspective, the same attitude, Maybe you don't have the same goals and dreams, but they think differently, they move differently, similar to you do. And as you go higher and higher and higher on your journey, we say too, it's lonely at the top. You only need a few good friends, your family, your children, and that's all that really matters, actually. People in business can be clients of yours. You could have a very close business relationship with them, but they also don't need to be your best friend. They're your clients. Like so many people I'll meet here and there that are like, you know, I'm not your friend, actually, to be bluntly honest. Like, I'm not looking for friends. I'm here for business. I love healthy, like our relationship, beautiful business relationships, but they're a different relationship. Molly and I might meet at the zoo by the end of the year at Lincoln Park Zoo. We're not best friends, but we have a fantastic business relationship and we're very important in each other's world, but we don't talk to each other every day. We don't text every day. You've got a few good friends. Another part of it is think about I'll see if I can remember all of these. Um, the things that really matter, your mood, your mindset, your money, your manners, and one more thing. I made a post about it recently that did really well, actually. Like, those are the only things that really matter. It's good to be healthy, selfish in a way that none of that other crap matters. All the other things going on around you, I don't pay attention to the news. Maybe there's some things that come up here and there that are important. I should know a little bit about what's going on in the world. But I tell people all the time, I live on planet Jen. That stuff doesn't matter to me. If I can't take action on something to change it, or if it doesn't really directly influence my business, my personal life, my happiness, my success, I don't really care, to be honest. Take with it what you will, but really just having a clear understanding of what does really matter to you, and then be with the people that are on the same page, and surround yourself with those people, because we even talked about it today, investing in yourself, investing in these quality relationships. My network of people around me, to be honest, actually, again, not my best friends, but my business people and my business network are who I'm surrounded by 24/7. To be
Mhm.
honest, more than my family and my friends. So I guess it goes back to, like, even having been in the corporate world, who are those people? Like, I stayed in corporate as long as I did because I had a great team. I had wonderful coworkers that I loved working with. It's just the environment I was in was not sustainable. Speed of light, operating at the speed of light in PT. So, um, yeah. And then even if there were people that are negative Nancy's or whatever, I just didn't give them a lot of my energy, I guess. So thankfully I did work in a space that I did have really wonderful people around me. So yeah, massively important to your growth, your success, your fulfillment.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point too, I love that you mentioned the whole toxicity things because I do think that I mean, the reality is this. When we experience negative energy, number one, it's contagious, right? I was just saying to Jen, misery loves company, and so once one person starts, and it just becomes this snowball effect. And I think it's interesting because I think for me, it just like you, I most of my 20 years in HR was really great. There were some amazing memories, things of that. I owe a lot of what I know and the ability to monetize on what I know into business because of my 20 years of HR. That toxicity really does leave you jaded sometimes. And more now than ever, I think you have to check yourself on how much will you allow for that to impact and influence you moving forward. And yes, I'm right there with you. I spend more time on my day with my business people than I do anybody else, and that's okay, right? Like there's camaraderie and there's commonality in that.
Yes.
And as we were really just brainstorming today's topic, I was just saying that I think that there's a time and a place to feel safe to want to just vent and just get it all out, like, oh, I'm really frustrated about
Yeah.
this, or I'm, pissed off about this, or this isn't working, that's not working, I've tried this and that, you know. But I think it really does take personal growth and reflection and
Yes.
self-awareness to then say, okay, how long am I going to stay in this, like, I'm
Yes.
going to just, I'm just going to wallow, I'm just going to like complain about it. And what are you going to do about it? And I'm going to say something that's probably going to be very bold here, but sometimes I feel like when I meet people who constantly stay in this cyclical process of just complaining of the problems, you start to think, but what are you doing about it? And it starts to
That's exactly what
irritate
I
you,
just said in my head as you
right?
said. I literally, that is exactly what I said. It's the constant saying that I say. I know I'm interrupting you all the time though,
Right.
I say, what are you going to do about that?
Hmm. Hmm.
There's a family member of mine that hates that question from me. So I learned to just like the last time, I just sat there and listened to her for 2 hours straight. I was just there. I listened. I didn't give any feedback. I didn't ask the question. I was like, okay, today I'm gonna just allow her to, like you said, bitch and complain and moan for 2 hours straight, even though normally I wouldn't. And they're probably not gonna do anything about their problems. But I
Hmm.
was like, okay, after all these years of me wanting to help them, I can't help them. I'm not, they don't want help, right? That goes along with this. I was like, okay, I'm just going to listen today and not offer any feedback or ask that question because if they don't really want to do anything about it, they're just bitching and complaining and they don't want to hear that question. Sometimes people do just need that space, whether that's personal or business or not, kind of like you said. Um, yeah, 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 well, I'll just finish the thought. If you can, I'll go back to you. I
Yeah,
apologize.
that's okay.
That's what I created my space for on my weekly group is that it's personal and business. You show up as you are. I say the beauty and the pain, and you need to feel safe to share vulnerably what's going on because for years I hid behind that and I showed up as lacking in confidence and scared and afraid. And I had no idea that for like 2 years, everybody was like, yeah, she's brilliant, amazing, and awesome, but she's just, they could tell I was hiding. That was the best word to use. Like, if you don't show up fully and share the reality of what's really going on, number one, you can't change it. You can't do anything about it if you don't acknowledge, like, this isn't working and this needs to change, whatever it is. Um, you can't just, and again, toxic positivity. Like, I'm a super positive person. I don't even want anybody to perceive me as like, toxic positivity. I'm not over here like pretending it's fine when it's not either. You can still be positive and at the same time be like, well, underneath it all, no, I'm really not doing great or I'm not feeling. You need to be real and honest with yourself. So that's something that comes up often too that we talk about. Being real and honest with yourself and others is so powerful.
Yeah, that toxic positivity, I think, is when we as humans bypass what we're really feeling,
Yes.
and we don't want to sit in that discomfort of, one, naming how we're feeling,
Yes.
right? But then it goes back to, okay, this is the reason why I think, I'm going to speak for me, I spend a lot more time with my entrepreneurial friends because most of us will, one, increase our awareness and will do something about it. You
Yes. That's it.
and dare I say, people will call us entrepreneurs crazy, but and woke, right? But like, you need a sense of self-awareness. And I do think that there is a level of who you associate yourself around is either going to help you perpetuate that negativity, that like, oh, I'm this is happening to me versus happening for me type of things. And
Yes.
you need friends. Like, I know 1000% that if I were to text you up, Jen, and said, hey, this is what you're going to call me out on my BS if
Uh-huh.
you know that that is what I need to hear. And
Yes.
there is something so beautiful about us as entrepreneurs that we can say, hey, it reminds me very much of what I say to my clients. And I used to say this when I was an HR leader too. I'll say to my client or to my team members, I'd say, if they're walking into my office, I'll say, okay, do you want me to just listen?
Yes.
Or do you want me to put a plan together to help you solve this problem?
Yeah. You have to
And
be very
yeah,
upfront about that. Yeah.
yes. But it is one of those things where you have to hold yourself accountable to say, you know what? Hey, Jen, I just need you to listen right now.
Yes.
And then, yes, let's plan of attack. How do we navigate through this? How do I not bypass all of the uncomfortable, icky feelings, and really sitting with it, but not tying a narrative
Hmm.
to the negativity that then devalues how we feel about ourselves and what we believe is deserving of us and all that stuff. And I I have to laugh because when like this, I really believe that this self personal development journey never ends. We're always constantly working on getting better. But you quickly realize when you surround yourself with people who don't prioritize that self awareness to say, yeah, I'm going to sit with it and I'm not going to allow for it to determine me, or I'm not going to sit in this forever and I'm going to do something about it. You get very irritated when you have those people around you because you just don't like you don't get it. You're like, so what are we going to do about it? Like, what are we going to do about it? You know,
Yeah.
we will we'll sit with you in it. We will sit with you in it. But for how long, right?
Yeah.
How long is too long?
Yeah.
We can't tell you that, right? But I think that, and I mean, I think about this as a coach and consultant, like the best clients are the ones who are like, yeah, Molly, let me just word vomit. Bleh.
Yeah.
And then they come back and they say, okay, let's reset. Okay, what needs to happen?
Yep.
Those are the ones that
Yeah.
we want to work with. Those are
Yep.
the ones we support. Those are the ones that we can see that we don't, it's not pushing up a boulder up a slippery slope at this point, you know?
Yeah.
And so, um, yeah, it's okay to be in your feels, y'all.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say is that it's so important to acknowledge what's going on, be real and honest about it, sit with the discomfort however long you need to. And then with that, I teach too, you need to have people in your life who are what we call a 10 out of 10. You can just call them, they listen without judgment, they don't give you feedback unless you ask for it, and they're just there to listen because sometimes whatever's going on, you just need people to listen. But otherwise, like us and the other people we choose to surround ourselves with, we are going to choose to take action. So it's very important to have those people in your life. And when I was originally introduced to that concept, to be honest, I guess think about this. If you had a problem today, who is a 10 out of 10 in your life that you can just call and say, hey, this is what's going on. I need you to listen. I just need to vent right now because you need those people in your life that they're only going to offer you feedback if you ask for it, because sometimes that's what you need. So when that first was introduced, I didn't know who my 10 out of 10 was. I
Mm.
was going through a very difficult time in my relationship and corporate, all of the things, all the toxic things that were going on that I left one day after another in October of 2023. Literally left one day after another, the corporate job and the relationship one day after another. All of those things. I didn't know who my 10 out of 10 was. And I was like, oh shit, I don't even know. Because I have some friends that same thing. One is not on purpose because she's a real and honest person, which I appreciate that too, but she's kind of a judgmental person. She won't she's a good friend, she'll be real and honest, but she's very firm on her opinions about things that, I don't necessarily want to talk to her because she might be the person that might tell me something I don't want to hear, but she's also going to be very vocal about her opinion about it, whether I ask for it or not, and not necessarily be supportive of mine. So I'm just saying, who in your life is a 10 out of 10 that you could call right now that will listen and is that type of person for you? It's a very important tool to have in your tool bag as a resource. Or if you're in a situation where you can't get out of your head within 15 minutes, that's actually what you're supposed to do too, is call that person. Instead of going into a spiral for 30 minutes or an hour, letting that stop you from taking action, whatever that is. So maybe there's a personal life person, maybe there's a business person. Very important tool. Um, I just want the story I was going to share. Okay, as entrepreneurs, and even in life, whether you're in business or not, our goals and dreams should be absurdly irrational, that they're so big that our logical minds cannot even fathom, as we say, the greatness of the abundance that is out there waiting for us. I'll keep it super brief. There was a couple comments the other day that came from my mother, and she is a very kind, supportive person. Like, I didn't have deodorant for a few days. I made a comment. The next day, she shows up at my house with deodorant. She just does these things. She's wonderful and amazing, and I love her, and I'm so extremely grateful for her. She gets worried about her children and what's going on with their lives, so she can kind of focus on the negative things, I guess is what I'm saying. Before she walked out the door, she said, Jennifer, I think sometimes you live in a fantasy land, and just walked out the door. I was like, well, fuck, if I do, who cares? You haven't been through the shit I've been through. So if I live in a fantasy land, then so be it. Because I am destined for greatness. I am going to have beautiful things. I do have beautiful things in my life. And I have magical little, as one of my other clients calls them, God winks that happen like every day. And no, I don't sit here and focus on the negative. Is it there? Yeah. I'm not going to focus my energy on it. I'm going to decide, okay, I'm going to sit with this right now. Whether I make a decision on it today or tomorrow, that's a decision I could make in a few days. And then again, I've had quite recently where things take care of themselves without my action. I think I've talked about that. But yeah, I was like, no. And I didn't even actually give it a lot of my energy. I said, if I want to live in a fantasy land, I can. You don't know what it's like to go through the hell I've lived through. That's all I said. I was like, have a good night. But like, I'm just saying, yeah, you got to be a little crazy. People who live abundantly successful, joyful, happy lives, you've got to be a little bit crazy. You've got to be thinking bigger and greater than what you can even, your logical mind can fathom is possible for you. And if you want to say it's a fantasy land, fine. If I want to live there, that's great. You're not going the places I'm going, and average people don't think that way, and we're not average people, and that's okay. That's okay. That's the whole point of the story.
I love it. But I think that that's a wonderful story to tie us up to say it really does matter who you surround yourself with because it is. It is sure, we're gonna have our family, our corporate friends and, people who may not necessarily
Get it?
understand. Yeah. It really is. I think sometimes because we're so much in the business entrepreneurial world, that I tend to forget not everyone is as brave as we
I
are.
was just gonna say about risk taking. I missed that
Yeah,
earlier. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, right. And so we forget that really, truly, 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 the norm of the people walking around us aren't those people who are going to bet on themselves.
Yes,
And
yes.
right, and so therefore automatically their way of thinking is going to be different than yours.
Oh yeah.
And you need the Jens and the Mollys that come together to say, "Oh girl, you are not alone. Let's be delusional together." Let's
Yes.
be right because yes, it is nice to be heard and seen. And it's okay sometimes to be the minority in this for us
Yeah.
to think of it that
Yeah.
way. Yeah, I feel yeah. I feel like especially if like I'm first gen entrepreneur and I think about my parents and for them like I when I told my dad that I scored my corporate client, he's like, "Oh good, I'm so glad you're going back to work." I'm like, "Oh no. Sorry dad, you missed the point there."
I love that you just shared that, though. That's hilarious.
Like he
Perfect
literally
example.
Yeah, he literally thought he was so happy because he's like, what you're doing is still, even though it's been almost 9 years, too risky, not stable, right? Even though year over year, I have proven to have a roof over my head, food on the table, you know, all my bills are paid, my kids are taken care of, right? In his mind, that's not a real job. What we're doing isn't a real thing. It's just to stay as a hobby type of thing. And so I was like, pause. It's through my company. He's like, what do you mean?
That's the same thing that happened another time with my mom, and I had to decide it's because she just doesn't understand it, and that's
It
fine.
really is.
But
It
it's
really is.
been like 6 years of all this stuff, and I was saying, I'm doing this today. I'm booked till 3:30, whatever. Um, or I told her something I was super excited about. Did you get paid for that? You know what I mean? They don't understand that, yeah, you might do all these things all day and they're not immediately paid work, like the big picture of how this all
Hmm.
works. And so initially I was briefly offended by it. And then I was like, no, she just doesn't understand. So, but it was because it had been multiple things over the years and I never said anything and I just brushed it off and brushed it off. And then finally that one day I was just like, Mom, like, you don't get how this works. Anyways, um, uh, extraordinary people don't do ordinary things. That's kind of
Love
goes
that.
with the whole it's lonely at the top thing. So yes, you need your people in your circle, have a few good resources of mentors that you talk to on a regular basis. Because yeah, you won't keep elevating and stepping your game up and growing and expanding if you don't have the people in your circle. It's interesting that as we're talking about this, I realized, and I just want to go back to this is, I guess, your relationships are very, very important. Whether you have a significant other, your family relationships, your friend relationship, my relationship with my children, that is the why behind all of this. The why behind all of this is that I can build by my life by my design so that we can be present and productive. That's what I talk about with everything is that I wouldn't be doing all of this and spending all the time in the business world with all the business people if my why wasn't that I could be more fully present for myself, my future partner, and my children. So, like, I know the other people just don't understand it when they're not in this journey. So, you need to have those people in your circle to keep you grounded and connected to yourself and others. But yeah, the relationships outside of the business world equally is important, but if not even more important, like I said, they're the why behind all of this so that we can be our best versions of ourselves and create a legacy for our family, to have our children watch us step into our power and be able to create this beautiful life that you are creating. That's the whole point. Last thing, and then I'll wrap it up. The other toxic thing is clearly for multiple reasons, not just, specific people, people in general, but people are very commend us for how our relationship is with my ex-husband. Like a lot of people don't even know that we're divorced, even though we don't really talk to each other much. They're like, your children, the way they act at school and this and that is a testament to how you guys get along. Like we were at the beach last Sunday throwing a football around. I'm climbing on an obstacle course in the water with a life jacket. I pass him the life jacket. He climbs the thing. So, like, I don't like being around him. I don't. He can be a very negative person. Victimhood, the whole thought of victim mentality that I learned, like, and then I hear my kids say things sometimes about blaming other people for this or didn't happen for this. And I'm like, we don't operate like that. Okay. Like, I don't know where you're hearing this from, but like, that's a perfect example. Yeah, I'm cordial. I'm around him. I do whatever. I don't like being around him. But that's a perfect example of the victimhood and blaming people for things and like the kind of energy I don't want to be around. So, nonetheless, I'm sure there's plenty of people like that in your life, one way or another, whether they're strangers on the street or people in your world, even in the business world. I'm sure there's some people you just don't want to be around in the business world too, to be honest. I can't think of anything specific stories with that, but some people you just find that energy and you're like, oh no, this is not a person I want to be doing business with or network with or whatever it may be. You can feel that energy from a mile away, right?
Amen to that, 100%.
All
Pick and
right.
choose your people wisely.
Choose your people. Choose your people. All right, so this will be the August episode. This our podcast comes out on the second Friday of every month. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment on this video. I think Molly Lowe's still on the YouTube, even though she's not active there. So I usually tell people still to connect with Molly anyways. But Jen Carpenter, Secure and Savvy, I'm going to do a quick shout out. I have a PT client who's super fantastic. Her name is Annie. She has been listening to all of our videos religiously, and she's a new person in my world that we just have had a very deep connection lately. And so, yeah, she's a PT client, but she gets me. and we get each other. And she's been supporting all of our content. So, Annie, I'm going to shout you out. Thank you for supporting us. I know she'll be
Aw.
leaving a comment on this video because as soon as they come out, she's like, I watched your podcast. And I'm like, I have never had anybody who is like sitting there at night watching my podcast for an hour yet. So, super grateful for you and happy to be on the journey with all of you. So, stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you very much.